Houston, we have a problem.
My oily, sweaty skin. Hey y'all, it's me, Bussy Rodrigo, and welcome back to Hot or Rat. Today we'll be reviewing the premiere of Drag Race Philippines' Slaysian Royale, which was not quite what I was expecting. Because I gotta be honest, in our current world of Drag Race overload with what seems like a new season premiering every single month, I did not expect to fall in love with the new spinoff so quickly. Slaysian Royale was genuinely some of the most fun I've had watching Drag Race in quite a while, and by the way, if you want to watch along with me, I'm doing exclusive reactions over on my Patreon, linked below. But while Slaysian Royale was a lot of fun, it definitely wasn't perfect, and had some major problems that could definitely derail the season if they aren't addressed. So we'll be breaking down what made this premiere hot and raw through the lenses of casting, general production quality and format, and how everything shook out in the first challenge of the season concerning contestant placements. Let's get into it. So Slaysian Royale, if you aren't familiar, is basically Drag Race Philippines versus the world. And in this season, we've got 12 Slaysian divas from 8 different Drag Race franchises, including of course the Philippines, Canada, Down Under, France, Belgium, Thailand, UK, and US, all competing for a cash prize of 2 million Philippine pesos, which is worth roughly $35,000 US, and the inaugural spot in the Drag Race Slaysian Hall of Fame. And for a first season of a new Drag Race spinoff, this cash prize isn't bad, but it is notably less than the $50,000 cash prize awarded to Tia Coffee in UK vs. the World 2, and appreciably less than the 100,000 Canadian dollar prize awarded to Raja in Canada vs. the World. Concerning the inaugural spot in the Drag Race Slaysian Hall of Fame, though, I honestly don't really care for the trend of Drag Race coming up with new titles and spots in different halls of fames for every All-Stars adjacent spinoff. Because if you're keeping track, we now have the official Hall of Fame, which tracks the winners from the regular seasons of All-Stars. Then we've got the International Pavilion of the Drag Race Hall of Fame, where Alyssa Edwards sits and will probably sit forever alone, because I highly doubt that spinoff's getting a renewal. And of course, the newly added España and France Hall of Fames tracking their respective All-Stars winners. Plus, we've got these other random titles floating around, like Queen of the Mother Tucking World awarded to the UK versus the World winners, and then Queen of the Mother Pucking World awarded to Canada versus the World winners. And now, of course, this new Slaysian Hall of Fame for Slaysian Royale, which curiously gets its own hall, but is not advertised as an All-Stars season, which kind of makes this season feel like it's sitting somewhere between a versus the World and All-Star season in terms of prestige, which is really the big point of what I'm getting at here. I'm not a huge fan of having prestige levels for All-Stars winners or All-Stars adjacent season winners, because keeping up with the different seasons themselves is difficult enough already, but now keeping up with which winner is in what Hall of Fame or has what title has just become obtuse and unnecessary. Like, girl, just put all the winners in one Hall of Fame, add a tagline underneath saying what season they won, and call it a day. It's too much. But I digress. The first episode has actually already been uploaded to YouTube for public consumption, and the rest of the episodes will go up on WoW Presents Plus every Wednesday. Let me just say to my exclusively English-speaking audience out there, don't be scared to jump right into this season, because yes, while this season does exist in the Drag Race Philippines world, and there are other languages spoken on this season by the contestants, I'd say ultimately 90% of everything spoken by the queens, judges, and even RuPaul on the show is all in English. And for the few instances where queens like Bernie and Venus Deluxe are speaking exclusively in tagalong, there are subtitles in English to help you understand what's going on. Interestingly, World of Wonder is also apparently releasing a dubbed version of this season alongside the regular, where you can listen to what I think are AI-generated voice tracks for languages like Dutch, Spanish, and French. But speakers of these languages are gonna have to listen to these and let me know down in the comments below if these are worth listening to or not. What stuck out to me most in this premiere episode is how excellent the casting is. Queens like Arizona, Bernie, Siam, and Khianna are already standing out as huge personalities that dominate confessionals and are also just powerhouses of drag. And other queens like Yuha, who's now dropped the Hamasaki from her name, and Sum Ting Wong from Drag Race UK Season 1 are providing tons of great comedic relief. Like, we are one episode in and we already have Yuha running around on the stage in a wolf fursuit and telling the judges for one of her runway presentations that she can curse in English. Yuha, never change. However, there's definitely a palpable disparity in the talent and readiness levels of the queens from the different franchises. And queens from the Drag Race Philippines franchise are just flat out overrepresented. Like, we have 5 queens of this cast of 12 almost half from the Drag Race Philippines franchise, 2 of which, Khianna and Arizona, finished as runner-ups in their original season, and 1 of which, Bernie, finished in the final 4. However, the highest original placement by a queen not from the Philippines franchise is 7, which was a placement earned by both Something Wong and Siam from Thailand, but the other 5 queens not from Drag Race Philippines all finished between 8th and 12th on their original seasons. So yes, Drag Race Philippines Slaysian Royale is kind of already feeling like a setup to crown one of their own queens, especially considering they're instituting the lip sync for your legacy and lipstick elimination format, which will naturally promote alliance forming as the competition progresses, but with the readiness disparity I've already discussed, I don't foresee much reason for any of the top queens of Drag Race Philippines to be forming alliances with the early outs of the queens from other franchises. And because there's only 1 queen from each of the other 7 represented franchises, I think they'll struggle to form meaningful alliances amongst themselves. Because as we've seen in previous iterations of Versus the World formats, queens from the same franchise do typically try to stick together. And simply put, 5 Drag Race Philippines queens who all placed really high in their original seasons versus 7 non-Drag Race Philippines queens who all placed pretty low in their original seasons is kind of unbalanced and unfair. We're basically all but guaranteed to get a Filipino winner out of this season, which of course isn't a bad thing at all. But I do feel this unbalanced casting does kind of go against what's driving the heart of this season in the first place, which is of course the celebration of Asian heritage across the globe and not from just one country. And what concerns me, especially after having seen the premiere, is that this season may be yet another rig, or I should say a simple setup for World of Wonder to crown whoever they want from the outset, which sure is something they should be able to do. It's their show. But I do feel there's an unrest among fans considering what's happened in the last several All-Stars season and even the Global All-Stars spinoff. But before we go any further, I do want to quickly remind you that if you're not following me on Instagram, you're missing out. Because rumor has it, if you DM me and ask me for my spicy link, I might just send it to you and you'll get access to tons of extra exclusive spicy content. See you there. And now without further ado, let's jump into the episode. So the entrance format for this season borrows from the Versus the World seasons, with queens entering on the main stage instead of the workroom. And while there are some cute looks here, I'll just say a lot of the queens definitely saved their best for the runway this episode. There's definitely some callouts I've got to do for Bernie, Suki Doll, and Siam, who all ate their entrance looks up. They all get hots from me. While Yuha, Something Wong, and Kitty Space, I will unfortunately have to leave here with rots. A huge pain point that persists throughout this episode, and hopefully gets better as the season progresses, though, is the stage lighting and general quality of some of the production choices. Because just in these entrance looks, we can see Bernie's adorable pastel anime bunny thing is completely washed out. And like even Madame Yoko's 60s Valley of the Dolls pop art look is washed out despite being half white and half pop art colors. Next though, the queens participated in their first mini challenge of the season, which was an absolute fever dream of hairography dance battles, where we've got 2 queens facing off at a time with their main objective to be, I guess, dance with their hair the most. And y'all, across the board, the Drag Race Philippines queens ate the other girls up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Arizona took off her ponytail and split it into 2 separate pieces. Bernie had a wig reveal and was moving like a million miles per hour on that stage. Brigading had amazing choreo, and then Khianna, oh my god, I thought she was an actual pop star. She had the tricks, the dips, the flips. I mean, she did everything that everyone else did, but more. Plus, she brought in some of those like classic little drag isms that you'll see where queens pull up their hair and pull the hair to the side. Girl, she was giving hairography, she was giving pop star, she was giving diva. Meanwhile, queens from other franchises like Suki Doll and Ivory Glaze were struggling just to keep their wigs on. And this mini challenge, as crazy and kind of crunchy as it was actually so much fun. Like, I loved the insanity of what was happening. Watching the queens lose their wigs was taking me back to the original seasons of Drag Race when things were just a little looser and a little crazier. But this mini challenge only highlighted what I was so scared about going into this season. The Drag Race Philippines girls are prepared for this season at a level the other contestants simply are not. And Khianna, by the way, takes the win in this mini challenge, rightly so, which gives her a special prize this week that I'll circle back on after explaining the challenge. So the challenge this episode was the Miss Shutacca Pageant, in which our queens were challenged to present 2 looks. Roots to Runway meant to showcase their heritage, and Reveal Yourself, a look of course, reveals. And after showcasing their 2 runways, the queens were then challenged to answer a pageant-style question in under 30 seconds asked by one of the judges on the panel at random. Which, by the way, for this episode and next include not only the host of the show, Mama Pow, but also Maxi, the current reigning of Drag Race Philippines, and Jimbo. Oh, wow. But with a small twist, because y'all wanted a twist day, in the pageant section of this challenge, that Khianna, the winner of the mini challenge, got 5 extra seconds added to her allotted time to answer the question, and an opponent of her choice, Arizona, had her time to answer the pageant question reduced by at 5 seconds. Which, like, to me personally, kind of felt like a backwards prize and penalty. I would much rather have 5 less seconds to answer one of these silly questions than 5 more. And it was very transparent to me this whole penalty thing against Arizona was just a setup for the sole purpose of creating drama in this episode. Because we get confessional commentary from queens like Ivory Glaze talking about how there must be a rivalry since Khianna penalized Arizona. And then we get a confessional from Arizona saying she was flabbergasted that Khianna chose her to penalize. And then later Yuha approaches Khianna in the workroom to ask her about this dramatic decision to penalize Arizona, which is totally organic, natural, and not scripted. So sister, why did you choose her? Queens usually have alliances from their own countries. And I get that they're trying to create a wedge between some of the front runners of this competition early on so it doesn't feel so Drag Race Philippines dominated, but this just did not read as authentic to me, and I'm gonna need them to try harder in the next few episodes. And next up, I'm gonna highlight some of my hottest hots and rottest rots for both runways and then discuss the pageant questions. First up, for routes to runway in my hots list, we've got Siam in an absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous look and an amazing rainbow color palette. She's actually celebrating LGBTQ pride and marriage equality in Thailand, which is really beautiful to hear her talk about, but also really scary to think that here in the US, we may no longer have that in the near future. The insane shape of everything she's done, from the headpiece to the gown to the Rue badge on her chest, is just awesome. I love all the stylistic elements giving nods to her Thai culture throughout this look. It's totally hot. And next up on my hots list, we've got Brigading, who unfortunately was a victim of the stage lights in her all white and cream look. Like, it is so horribly washed out, and I'm so sad for her that this happened, but I just wanted to highlight her look because the silhouette is insane. The headpiece is phenomenal. Like, this look is gorgeous. It did not get enough attention on the show and was sabotaged by the lights. Justice for Brigading. This look is hot. And last on my hots highlight list, we've got Khianna, who is in a breathtaking masculine meets feminine carabao look, which apparently is a kind of swamp buffalo native to the Philippines. But she's added these dark and demonic elements to this buffalo presentation that are just so cool, spooky, breathtaking, and fresh. This look is sick as hell and totally hot. But over on my rots list, first up we have Something Wong, who says she stands on the stage as a child of immigration happy to represent the UK. And y'all, this look is mostly, to me, confusing. She's in a beige rhinestone catsuit accessorized with a bowler hat, a tie, a suitcase, and a newspaper, and I just don't necessarily see the vision. It's giving going door to door selling MLM schemes at 5, gotta hit the club by 9. Like, nothing on this is cohesive, and it's just giving sim randomizer. But to her credit, I will at least say I did get British styling from her accessories. The judges, though, had a problem with this look, not because it wasn't representative British heritage, but because it wasn't Asian enough. And Something Wong does have an emotional moment later in Untucked because she was confused why the judges weren't able to recognize she was representing the heritage that she knew in the Roots runway, and her not being connected to her deeper Asian heritage is actually something she struggled with a lot. For the judges to basically say this look wasn't Asian enough, I think was kind of a cop-out for really the bigger issue being that the look just wasn't very good. It's not well executed, and it did deserve a bottom placement. And next to my rots list, this may surprise you, I've got Ivory Glaze, and not because I don't think she looks good. She does. She looks damn gorgeous. The silhouette of this black gown is phenomenal. But I wasn't really seeing any stylistic cues for any particular heritage in this look. And she didn't explain it on stage, at least in the edit of the episode we saw, either. I think you could put any queen in this dress and they'd be beautiful, but what roots is it giving? I don't know. And next up on my rots list, I've got Madame Yoko, who is very much giving the Belgique fantasy, but this was just not a look that I liked. The pants don't fit. I think it's very costumey. I don't know. It's just not giving like fashion. It's not giving. And the hair is really bad. The hair is really bad. And finally, in my rots list, I've got Kitty Space in a look I just did not like at all. She was going for like a burlesque fantasy, but the top is so ill-fitting. The proportions are off with the bottom skirt, which is kind of like haphazardly hanging off her waist. And then the crazy like windmill thing that she's got going on in her hair was wild. And next up, let's move into the second runway category, Reveal Yourself. And first up on my hots list, I've got Suki Doll, who says she's the queen of love with her hearts on hearts on hearts reveals. And you know, I was actually watching this so gagged at how beautiful each layer of this costume was. From the outer red gown to that red caged bodice, she really thought about a lot of details here and everything worked well together. This was totally hot. And next up I have Bernie, who I thought was really overlooked this episode because in her reveal runway, she presented 3 gorgeous gowns. First in a beautiful blue, then a beautiful yellow, and then finally a sexy skin tone illusion dress that is just perfectly draping over her body with beautiful red rhinestones on the nether regions. The reveals were flawless. Each of the dresses were beautiful, and she gave us drag perfection at a level on this runway that I don't think was matched by anyone else. And next up I've got Arizona Brandy, who did not have one of the best looks in this category, but certainly had one of the funniest looks of the entire episode. Like, I'm never going to forget her coming out in like a little cute dress, revealing to her very hairy merkin, which she then removes and places on the front of her wig to be bangs. I got bangs. Like, this is just the type of drag stupidity that I love to see, and this was totally hot. And next up we have Siam, who first is dressed as a royal guardian slash spiritual warrior, as she describes, who transforms into a gorgeous Thai woman with a plate of Thai food attached to her backside. Gotta keep it warm somehow, I guess. And although Siam's reveal was maybe a little obvious here, like we knew that outer black and gold cape was gonna be taken off to reveal something else, I was still pleasantly surprised and happy with both of the looks, and she looks so gorgeous. This was totally hot. And finally, in one of the more interesting runways for this reveal category, we've got Khianna, who says she's representing life and death, first giving us a white angelic dress, which reveals to a body bag that she opens to reveal bones and guts, and even beneath her wig, her brain. Gag on it. And on my Ross list for this category, I have only 2 queens, the first of which is Something Wong, where I just have to say this look is absolutely atrocious. Like, it looks like she sat down and tried to come up with the least aesthetically pleasing thing she could. Like, this is her trolling, right? From the crazy pinstripe suit and clown wig to the ultimate reveal, which is just like her in a thong with a wig. Girl, bye to that. I don't want to see it. That was not cute. But honestly, I'm not even sure she's sure of what she wanted to give, because she's only really able to describe this look in the confessional as a mismatch of things. And yes, it was. And here again, next to Something Wong on my Ross list, we also have Madame Yoko, who had an interesting concept, similar actually to Khianna's, but was not executed well at all. The outer bone dress is kind of baggy, doesn't really seem like it fits. And then she's got this inner layer, which is like a muscle catsuit, which is like, okay, but just not great, and made all the worse by that wig, which is dry, very dry. But we'll leave it at that. Also in this Reveal Yourself category, I've got to give a special shout out to Venus Deluxe, who revealed a portrait of Jesus on the front of her dress, which is not a portrait that I want to see on the Drag Race main stage, I'll be honest, but is an artistic expression that I certainly can appreciate, because what the hell do you mean you can pull a string and reveal a portrait on the front of your dress? Gag. And we have another special shout out here for Yuha, who is dressed as a wolf in Uncle Sam's clothing, which is political commentary that I can get behind and fully support. Even if this wolf fursuit was a little regrettable. Girl, that wolf has seen some shit, I'll tell you that. Next up though, let's talk about the pageant questions, which were a mixed bag of topics ranging from LGBTQIA acceptance to embracing Asian heritage. Some of the queens took this really seriously, like Khianna, who was asked, how can you teach kids to be proud of their Asian heritage, and who earnestly responds, talking about the need to be proud of yourself and love others. Siam also gave a great response to her question, talking about how trans people are regular people and how happiness can be found on the inside, and how we in general need to care less about what other people think. And Arizona was able to talk about persevering despite all of her disadvantages in life, including the 5-second penalty that was given to her by Khianna. Other queens though took this pageant question and answer as an opportunity to try and be funny, but most of it was only funny in a cringy, awkward sense. For example, we've got Kitty Space, who's asked, what is your opinion on cancel culture and social media, who just screams France, which I think was supposed to be her making fun of the Miss World France contestant who just yelled France in the microphone a couple years ago. But this was just something that did not land to me while I was watching the episode. And then we've also got Yuha here, who's asked which of your fellow contestants should go home tonight and why, who says, girl, I don't know, I'm just a werewolf. But all I know is if you're adults watching, don't do unless someone else is paying for it. What? Or there's my personal cringe favorite from this portion of the episode, which was Something Wong's absolutely unhinged response to, what would you say to a trans person who feels like they don't belong? And let me clarify, the response she gave was actually pretty good, where she talked about the need to find a chosen family who accepts you. But she decided to give the answer to this question while doing push-ups for the entire 30 seconds of her response. Well, let's not forget being dressed in only a wig and a thong. What was going on here? Girl, something was wrong. And also, I guess, you know what? Shout out to Ivory Glaze, who was asked how to stop Asian discrimination, to which in response she started comparing Asian people to penguins. These responses were absolutely insane across the board, and while basically none of them made a lot of sense or addressed the question that was even asked, I was very entertained by what was going on, because more than anything, this portion of the challenge was a great way to get a peek inside the queens' minds and see not only how they would respond to pressure, but also if they've got any comedic chops or will take the competition seriously. Concerning placements this episode, my personal top 3 were actually Bernie, Siam, and Khianna, but despite having phenomenal runways, I think Bernie kind of sabotaged her chance at top 2 this week with her pageant response, which was basically, I don't know what that means, to the question of, do you believe love is love regardless of identity? So, considering that, I do agree with the ultimate decision to have Siam and Khianna in the top 2. They were the only ones to, I think, slay both runways and actually take the pageant question seriously. And my clear bottom 2 this episode were the same 2 identified by the judging panel, Something Wong and Madam Yoko. Like, no other queens even came close to how badly these 2 performed across the 2 runway categories. And so we get a lip sync to the song Debut by Cat's Eye, the same band who sings Gnarly. And I kind of went into this knowing what to expect because we already saw Khianna and Siam perform this episode in the Hairography mini challenge, and yeah, Khianna ate her up and down. Khianna brings this diva pop star energy lip sync to this performance that is so appropriate for this poppy hip hop beat. On the other hand though, I would say Siam did decently, but her energy didn't quite match the vibe of this song to me. She was giving more Shakira meets Bollywood with like a lot of these kind of movements, and it felt a little too flowy for what the song was asking. So Khianna takes the win, which means she won both the mini and Maxi this episode. And proves she was not just a runner-up of her previous Drag Race Philippines season, but is also a front runner in the Slaysian Royale. What really gagged me though was Khianna's choice of elimination. I thought surely she would choose Something Wong to go home, but instead she reveals her lipstick says Madam Yoko. And I can only think this choice must have been in part to recognize Something Wong's emotional breakdown in Untucked, but I also can't help but wonder if there was something we as viewers didn't see, because her explanation of why she chose Madam was, I didn't enjoy her performance and the vibe she's giving in the workroom. But my question was like, what is the vibe she was giving in the workroom? We didn't really see these 2 interact, and I can only guess that something happened between them that did not make this final cut. I will say though, from the perspective of making good TV, Khianna's choice makes a lot of sense because Something Wong has so much personality, and she was absolutely a highlight of this episode many times over. Whereas like eliminating Madam Yoko just kind of removes somebody who was reserved and maybe not as exciting to watch. So yeah, Madam Yoko sachets away, and Something Wong will survive another week to traumatize us on the runway and possibly show us just how Wong things can get. Considering my final thoughts on this premiere, the judging overall felt very fair, and I do very much agree with all the choices made by the judges this episode. But it does concern me how well all the Drag Race Philippine queens did compared with the non-Drag Race Philippines queens. Their performance capability as seen in the Hairography challenge, their runways, the way they answered some of the pageant questions were all just so much better and well thought out and fully formed than what the non-Philippines queens were giving, with, you know, the notable exception of Siam. And this could have been a bad week for some of our non-Filipino queens, but I don't know. I'm kind of scared for them. Either way, I think for the season to not feel so dominated by the Filipino queens, it's going to be imperative that the producers continue to create some sort of wedge between them, like they tried this episode between Khianna and Arizona, but I'm going to need something a little more believable than a mini challenge rivalry. However, regardless if this season was just made to crown a previous Drag Race Philippines finalist or not, I did very much enjoy everything I saw, and said it in the beginning of this video, but I'll say it again, this was some of the most fun I've had watching Drag Race in a while. It felt raw and real in a way that some of current Drag Race just doesn't. But of course, I'd love to know all y'all's thoughts about this season down in the comments below. Lastly, let's talk hottest tots. In the Roots runway, I'm gonna give it to Khianna, and in the Reveal Yourself runway, Bernie. I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest tots, and this week they've chosen Brigading and Suki Doll, respectively. Lastly, I wanna say thanks to you for watching today's video and give an extra special shout out to Ashton, Felicia, JBR, Laura, Matthew Burns, and Will and Tanner, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.